Men of Reddit, what stupid thing happened while you were gawking at a beautiful girl? First day on campus, walking up to a building, when I notice a ridiculously cute redhead is about 15 feet behind me. Play it cool. Hold the door for her, so I can get a better look. She says, hey, Puggy Pug. Turns out she's a cousin I hadn't seen in 10 years. Edit, since many are asking if I banged my cousin, I just couldn't. Our moms are sisters and our dads are cousins. So she and I are actually both first and second cousins. It would be doubly wrong for us to duck. But really, I couldn't have banged her because she's way out of my league. This one time a topless chick on my campus was walking around holding a sign that said #FRETHENIP. Due to the sheer shock given she was walking around the middle of campus, I got distracted and almost ran into a skateboarder who was also staring. I met a Russian exchange student with a face that looked like he'd gotten the bad end of a bar fight. I asked him what the other guy looked like, and he said, not guy, girl. Apparently, he'd been biking to work, gotten distracted by a girl, and ran face first into a lamppost. Was it worth it? Definitely. Lol, how is that worth it for him? He dented his face and all he got was a peek. It would be a whole different story if she had run to his side and whilst she nursed him back to health they fell in love, and insert rest of cliché story here. Stuck in traffic, girl next to me flips a dude off for being dumb. I laugh and smile at the scene. She sees me, I smile, she flips me off, I'm sad. This is poetry. My friend was walking down the sidewalk with his hands in his pockets watching some girls sunbathing when he trips and lands right on his face. I usually cringe when I see people hurting themselves, but this time I just laughed out loud. I was coming out of a dentist's appointment, gingivitis sucks, with my mom, and had to be given local anesthetics to soothe the pain down in my gums. So, we are walking in downtown on our way to the car when this gorgeous redhead punkish girl, just my type, comes out of the local tattoo shop and passes next to me as she's exiting. We made eye contact and she even smiled at me. Thing is that, with a mouthful of cotton and anesthetics, and dumbfounded by this beautiful girl, I didn't notice that there was drool coming out of my mouth. So, it dawned on me that she was only smiling cause I looked like a ducking drooling idiot. I ran into a trash can while rounding a corner because turned my head to look at the butt of the girl who was walking by. Had a big yellow and purple bruise on my hip for weeks. No regrets though, that butt belonged in a museum. A female friend and I were going to lunch, and she was pouring her heart out about something really awful and intimate that had happened to her when she was young. As I pulled into a parking space, I saw a hot girl and my head reflexively snapped that direction. While my tearful friend was still in mid-sentence, I slammed my car really hard into the curb. Ducking really? Snarled my friend. My brain and heart have your full attention, I promise. There was the ripped female security guard when I was walking through the mall with my girlfriend that I was just staring at. I was mostly checking out her chest and face when my girlfriend says, "You're checking out the wrong part. Look at her butt." Needless to say, it scared the crap out of me for a second. I fell into a hole. Full story. I was working at Filmment for my second year. My department was setting up a staff event, and she was jogging the trail near the Frisbee golf course. We were walking kinda perpendicular and crossed the path behind her, and then I straight up Looney Tuned into a bit, complete with popping up afterwards with an "I'm okay." I guess she had stopped when she heard the crack of the branch I fell on. So she saw my head pop up out of the hole and started giggling. She was stunning, and it was very hard to focus on work around her. The bruises were totally worth it. I was a venture scout that went to Filmment with my crew. There were 2 other teenage girls in my crew on that trip, and about halfway through our group was running dangerously low on toilet paper. The boys in my crew were getting understandably nervous about this. The dehydrated trail food caused a lot of gas and encouraged us ladies to go to the next scout troop group over, strike up a conversation with the teenage boys, and somehow secure toilet paper. I honestly didn't think it would work. Being a shy and insecure teenage girl myself, 20 minutes later, came back to our camp with rolls and rolls of toilet paper. Those boys were just so happy to see 3 teenage girls materialize out of those pine trees. I think they thought we were some kind of mirage. I forgot to spot my buddy in the gym, and gave him a mouthful of testicles when I attempted to save him from his failed bench press. Legend has it after that day he never failed a rep again in his life. Learning how to drive stick in my cousin's loud Jetta and him stopped at a red light when a car pulls beside us and two very attractive females in the car look over and smile at us. Then the light turns green and I stall. Performance anxiety strikes at the worst time. Not a man, but I fell down the stairs in a bar because I was busy watching a girl who just walked past me wearing next to nothing. Guys, reading these is turning the whole thread into a montage in my head, and it's 10/10. Extra points if you imagine the voice from the Wonder Years narrating them like letters written to Opus. She was a gorgeous rep for skincare products in a mall during Christmas, which was totally deliberate and without an ounce of tact. I slow down and change my course for her and slowly zombie in her direction. Since the initial eye contact, she had begun her sales pitch that I didn't hear a word of. I mindlessly listened to every word and even let her test some sea salt stuff on my hands for about 10 minutes. When it came time for the sale, things got awkward. So are you interested? I don't really use these products. Maybe a gift for your mother? I finished shopping for my mother. Girlfriend? I don't have one. A sister maybe? She lives in another province. Did you just stop because I'm a pretty girl? Nods head like an idiot. Hot girl slowly turns around and goes back to her station. There used to be a jazz night at a downtown club in my town. No idea if this girl worked on the non-jazz nights, but damn. Redhead, green eyes like an emerald, always dressed like she was about to step on stage, and the most fluid movements ever. She didn't just float when she walked, it was like reality warped around her. Every time we went I was rendered practically mute in her presence. I had spilled my drink on myself numerous times when she walked by, ran into a wall heading to the bathroom because she walked by, and probably the funniest, this being a jazz club, a fair number of old not give a fuck Macs were always in attendance. I managed to actually correctly get a drink order out for once, but proceed to blush when she smiled at me like all the blood in my body rushed to my skin. Blush. Old G at the bar sees this and says, "God damn, how you get redder than her hair." Not me, but back in high school I was on the load crew of the band truck. We were all loading instruments into the truck after the football game, so we had all stripped out of our uniforms. One cute girl on our crew had on tight shorts. The other team's band was walking past us to their bus. The cute girl bent over to pick up an instrument and this drummer from the other band had his jaw open and was immediately in love. Bam. He tripped and Fassa planted the ground and his nose started to bleed. The girl was clueless, but we were all dying once the kid was taken care of. I was on a family skiing vacation in Norway when I was 13. I was cruising down the slopes when I see the most beautiful, perfect, start a war over her beauty coming down the slopes beside me. I completely lose my composure and just stare. I stared all the way into the pine tree I didn't see rapidly approaching. No injuries, just the realization at the age of 13 beautiful women will be the end of me. Skiing down a mountain at 13 or 14, I barreled down and pull a sharp side skidding stop to halt at the top of another large hill. I figured I'd rest for a second then turn and continue down, but as I was stopping I caught a half a second glance of this fantastically gorgeous blonde woman, and instead of stopping on the lip of the hill I flipped over and ate crap. I was driving and gawking at a pretty girl jogging one time. A highway patrol officer was in front of me and another car in front of him. The car in front of him decides to turn left while the car is waiting for oncoming traffic to pass so he can go. I'm staring wide-eyed at this girl and the cop is a sitting duck in the road. I have no idea. I come down the hill at like 35 miles per hour and slam on the brakes, only to stop like 3 inches from his rear bumper. My heart is pounding after what had just happened. I look up at him, and he's looking at me in his mirror shaking his finger back and forth. He was well aware of what I was doing. I was swimming at an indoor pool when I looked over and saw a gorgeous woman in a very flattering bikini. I thought she looked even better when she started laughing at something one of her friends said to her. I swam over and began a conversation with her. We talked for a few hours and she kept getting better and better. I got her phone exchange number and intended to call her the next day. When I looked at the paper with her phone number on it, I realized her name looked familiar. I asked her if she had any relatives in the area. She said she did and told me a couple of names. I told her I'd call her soon. and we parted ways. I ended up throwing away the paper with her name and number on it. One of the names that she'd listed when I asked about local relations was my uncle. It turns out that she was my second cousin that I'd never met. There was a whole lot of nope going through my mind that day. Someone called me out on it. You can't just not stare at a 10 cents. Shut up. What, you don't look at free art?